we're pretty good with our personality. We're pretty good with Amazon being a good company. Well, what about e-commerce? Well, e-commerce has really just taken off in the last few years. So e-commerce itself is still relatively new. You think of the laws, we've been talking about taxes. The laws aren't even established because it's still a new concept, is still a new takeoff. It's becoming so popular so fast. The growth just keeps increasing and keeps increasing that we can't keep up. If you're coming in now, you're coming in at its infancy. It's still a really solid, good time to get in on it. And also, when you look statistically, only 30% of the consumers are utilizing e-commerce right now. So there's a lot of room for growth. There's still 70% of a population that isn't utilizing e-commerce, but we know that the e-commerce numbers are growing rapidly year after year. So that indicates that of the 70% that's not using it, they will at some time start to use it. So the fourth thing, let's talk about the competition, because I think the real issue is, like I just said, the perception of the competition. Obviously, the more competition you have, the harder it is. But other points to consider is that I get way more than what I give on my YouTube channel. I help people with their Amazon and their eBay. In turn, I've had them help me with my website, with legal issues, with getting my corporation up and running. Is that no matter what business you go into, there's always going to be competition. You have a gas station on a corner, and then on the other corner you have another gas station. Well, they don't just pack up and go home. You just learn to be better. You learn to market better. You learn pricing strategies. These are techniques that you use because every business is going to have competition. You put a Walmart on one corner, well, before long, you have a Target there, right? You put a McDonald's someplace, well, before long, you have a Burger King. I mean, competition, there's no way to avoid it because the nature of our financial society. Points to consider is, when you have competition, it forces you to fine-tune yourself. It forces you not to get relaxed in what you're doing or to get in a rut. You always have to be, thinking to the next level. It's just like technology. The second, like BlackBerry, the second you kind of stick with the same format and you have products like Apple coming in, you either have to be able to compete with them or you're just going to kind of die out. And it forces you to step it up. With e-commerce and with the internet and with platforms such as Amazon, we're not just in our neighborhood competing. We're talking an international market. I can sell in Mexico. I can sell in the United Kingdom. I can sell in Canada. I can sell here in the States. I have an international market now, whereas before we didn't have that. So there's room for competition more so than there used to be. It's been my experience too that a third of the people actually drop out of this. Not everybody eBays and Amazon and then stays with it forever. Some people are just kind of dabbling in it. They're just kind of cleaning out their house. They're just trying to, sell some things and make a better profit than on a garage sale. Some people, it's more like a hobby. They're retired and they're selling a few things for some extra money. Heard people will try it or dabble in it or treat it like a hobby. Some will drop out. Small percentage of our competition will actually remain competition. Also, probably the best point is that even though competition is continuing to come in, people that are buying, people that are becoming buyers are also coming in. Remember, we have that 70% that hasn't even, utilized e-commerce very much yet. So of that 70%, we're getting more and more buyers come into the Amazon platform. So even though we're getting more and more sellers, it stays pretty consistent. So just some thoughts to consider when looking at competition. And number 5 was growth. We talked about that a little bit. It forces you to look at your merchandise. It forces you to look at your pricing strategies, your marketing, what types of products you're selling, what profit margins you're selling at. to get better as a business. You start to, utilize your inventory management better. You're starting to do your finances better. Maybe you're getting your LLC and your tax ID numbers, and it just forces that growth. Our original question is, what do I think? Do I think that Amazon is still lucrative? Well, based upon the things we've already talked about, I do. I really do. I believe in it. When I look at it from a business perspective, I believe it's solid. When I look at it from a personal perspective, I believe that it's solid. Look at my website, I'm really big on balancing a life that I love with a business. I don't want to be working 80 hours a week. I don't want to be doing that. If I did, I would take my business degree and I would be working in the corporate world. I've chosen for me that that's not the way I want to do it. I want to be home with my children. I have 8 of them. I want to be able to homeschool. I want the flexibility to do adventure fun like kayaking and river rafting and such. I want to travel. These are choices that I've made as a person, and the corporate life didn't fit into that. I'm also a big advocate of diversifying a portfolio, which is just a big word for saying that you shouldn't have all your eggs in one basket. So I don't want to just Amazon or just eBay or just stock trade. What I want to do is I want to have all of them bringing in a monthly income, so that if any one of them doesn't work out, it might be a big hit for me, but it's not going to be the end of the world. It's my biggest chunk of the pie right now. That's where I make the most monthly income. And if Amazon decided to shut my account off today, I would be pretty traumatized, but I would still have income coming in from all the other sources that I have, incorporated over time. So I'm a big advocate on life and work balance. I'm a big advocate on diversifying your income, big into automating these types of processes so that you can have the lifestyle you want. And I'm big on passive income and adding that to your portfolio so you don't have to work so hard, so that you can play some too. Kind of how I'm looking at it, and that's my perspective, and your perspective might be totally different. And it's how I've chosen to handle my e-commerce. Personal experience with it. Beginning, I got my business degree and I started with stocks. So I was making an income from the stocks, but it wasn't enough monthly income to afford me to do all the stuff that I wanted to do. So I knew I needed to add to that. It was great. Long-term investing was great. I was really enjoying the dividend stocks because it was passive income, but it just wasn't going to be my foundation. So I continued with the stocks, but then I added the eBay to it. And with the eBay, I found it pretty easy on, like 4 hours a day to make about $1,500 a month. I wanted to make more than that, so I added Amazon, and I found that it was pretty easy to double that. So I kind of plateaued and I was kind of like stuck at that number and couldn't really get it to move off of that. So I knew that I needed to change some things. I either had to add more time to my day, because time is more products listed, which is more products sold, which is more money, or I needed to be smarter about the type of products that I was using, or I needed to get wiser with my tools. We talked a lot about scheduling and organization and having the scanners and the scan fobs to kind of make me more productive with the time that I was using. So all of those ways are ways to jump your business to the next level once you hit those plateaus, because you're going to hit them. You're going to have obstacles. You're going to have days where you're like, this sucks, I'm not making any money. You're going to have days like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is actually my job. This is awesome. So you're going to have those days, and you're going to have those plateaus, and these are just ways, that you're going to kick it up to the next level. And that's what I did. And I was making this monthly income, and I started adding YouTube. Well, YouTube, I can't tell you how much. They don't let you tell you exactly how much you make, but it's about a car payment. But for the first 4 months, I made zero. I made nothing on YouTube. My intent when I started YouTube wasn't to make money. Like Entrepreneur Girl wasn't even, really a thing. Help people. So for 4 months, I invested in my belief that I wanted to help other people. And I did that for a really long time, but now I make a passive income from YouTube. I added my website. Well, with websites, you can do, ad placements. You can have courses that you sell, books that you sell, merchandise that you sell. You can do affiliate links to different programs. There's lots of ways you can make money off of a website. On my website, I started offering coaching. So now I have a coaching income. So these are all just ways that I've diversified my income. Do I believe Amazon is good? Yes, absolutely. Do I think you should have other sources of income? Yes, because that's just, would be my financial advice to you, would be to diversify in case something happens. I think it's just more financially sound. And I think it's just, smart and more secure for you and your family. The other thing that she had asked was that they were saying that they were making more money coaching. Well, yeah, some of these coaching courses, when I look at them, it's like $597 for, this coaching course. So that's, okay, $600. So if 10 people sign up for the course, they're going to make $6,000 that month. $6,000 for a course that they've already created. So this is when you get into that automation, right? Like you create a course once and then it keeps making you money and more money and more money and more money. They don't have to recreate the course over and over again until it becomes obsolete or they need to tweak it. The course remains the same. So there's still work, but it's minimal, like 10 people. You have to stay on 10 people going through your course and just kind of answer questions as you get to them, or kind of, hand hold a little bit, or have a phone call here or there, or, a Google video conference, or, the work would be minimal for 10 people for a whole month, and you're making $6,000. The work I have to put in on Amazon or eBay to create that same value of $6,000 is going to be a lot more. So yeah, I see that. Like, is what we should all strive, not just to coach, I'm not saying that, but just, to be smart, to be business savvy, to always be growing our income with the least amount of effort, because the goal is not to work yourself to death. The goal is to have a life that you love, and to have time, and to have freedom, and to have flexibility. These are all reasons why we choose to work from home. And it kind of defeats the purpose if we're just, working 20 hours a day trying to make, eBay or Amazon work. So you always need to be growing, and trying to become better at what you're doing. Get ungated in categories, choose your inventory more wisely, use apps to make yourself more productive. Look at my evolution. I made this amount of money with eBay, and then I doubled it with Amazon, and then I had a little bit more from stock trading. And then I added real estate in that, and I got a little bit more. And then I added YouTube, and I got just a little tiny bit more. And then I added my website, and I got more. And then I added coaching, and I got more. And then on the website, if I ever add content, like a course, I create a course one time, it's $50, 10 people buy it, bam, I have more income every month. I'll get money off of that course that only maybe took me a week to create. So I'm growing my business. I'm diversifying my business. I'm finding ways to make more money with less effort because I'm growing in my knowledge base. I'm growing as a business owner. So do I think that these people are making more money coaching? Probably, it makes sense that they would do that. If I could make $6,000 coaching 10 people, or spend, 100 hours with listing products, what would I choose? I would probably choose coaching too. I'm helping people. It's less work. It's more fun. I don't blame them for making that option. I coach, but it's not because Amazon's not lucrative. I'm not going, wow, Amazon's really stinking, so I better find something else to do. I mean, maybe they are, but I don't feel that way. I don't feel threatened at all at this point. I feel that there's a lot of room for growth. I feel it's a good company. I feel that it's just really getting started. So I think that for people coming in now, I think it's a great time to come in. I would encourage you to come in making money that I'm happy about. Then I want to start bringing in virtual assistants. I want to start private labeling and go ahead and automate the processes of the supply chain, see the product, after a certain point. So not only do I grow to certain levels, but then I want to focus on how do I automate them so that I don't have to be constantly involved. And then to try to add another level with passive income, course writing, book writing. I know this was a really long explanation for that question, but it's such an important question because there are days, even doing this for as many years as I've been doing this, I still sometimes think, is it worth it? Should I just throw in the towel? Wouldn't it just be easier? And then I have to remind myself why I'm doing this. And that's why I say to you all the time, on getting your goals and getting your why and making, the visual boards in your office is because you're going to hit that. You're going to hit that. And you need to be able to say to yourself, oh, this is why I do it. And this is why I believe in it. And print up your numbers and look at your numbers and make sure they're growing every single month. Make sure you're evolving as a person and in your business every single month. I think Amazon's rocking it, and I think you're going to rock it in it, and I think it's a big enough forum for us all to be there happily together, helping each other out. I hope today's video was helpful for you guys. If it was, please give a thumbs up and like. I'd love to hear your comments below. Your own personal experience. I really want us to learn from everybody else. And if you have any questions that you would like for me to answer, I'm trying to answer one a week, so just place it in the comments below. And I'll see you guys next video. Talk to you later. Bye.